We are on air. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the largest, fastest growing, and the most active meetup, the virtual club. It's a lean, large scale, agile product development called LESS. Today, I would like to share with everyone the topic. So again, today's discussion is more of a level setting and stage setting, and then an open discussion. So I would like to make everyone aware of this. This isn't going to be like a deck-driven presentation. It's going to be more of a discussion. I have some very light agenda prepared, and I'm going to share my screen in a second. Um, so what has what was the driver for me to have this session? By the way, is my screen shared? Can you see the website, the web page?
Yes.
Yes, great. Thank you. So what drove me to create this agenda? So actually, if I were to compartmentalize it in three, like three buckets, three main drivers, three main reasons. I got some friends, quite a few out there that are currently seeking the job of a Scrum Master. They're seeking the role. They're looking for a job. They're seeking the role, and I have seen some of the struggle and hurdles they go through to acquire a role. I've seen some of their resumes. I've learned about their own efforts. I also have seen some of the, I would say, just generally speaking, recommendations out there about what a role of a Scrum Master should be and how people should prepare themselves for an interview or for the first few weeks of client engagement. So that gave me some thoughts. Let's just put it that way. I'll just generalize. I had some concerns. Let's put it this way: concerns and thoughts how to possibly improve this. And the third aspect of this, the third driver was some of my ex clients and colleagues and friends that are in business. There are tasked to bring on Scrum Masters are also looking for good candidates. So they sometimes reach out and ask, "Is this a good candidate? Is this a good job description to describe the role?" So and I see emissions everywhere. I see it's like one hand washes another. Yeah, that's what I would like to do. Mute all. So those multiple drivers actually came together, and I decided, well, why don't just not have a session and maybe straighten a few things out. Okay, so that's my intent for today, and I don't mean to monopolize the stage forever. I'll try to control as much as you can. I'm the only person here with control, so please bear with me and try to save your questions and comments if you would like until after I'm done talking. So because I can't really do both, I cannot speak and read at the same time. I did not multitask that. It's difficult. All right. So anyway, what I have here on the screen, that's just for the ease, so people can refer to this later. It's the and I like irony and I'm a little bit too much in cartoons and sarcastic cartoons. So this is an anecdotal resume of a Scrum Master / Minister, and I actually have a graphic to illustrate this, right? So this is a way to almost ridicule the role of a Scrum Master that is incorrectly defined, incorrectly written, incorrectly mapped to some existing organizational jobs that are, have been historically defined in HR database. So this is where the Scrum Minister figure of speech is coming from. So I'm going to dive immediately into some of the less than fortunate titles that we see that people use on their resumes to apply, and also some of the job racks out there that ask for these sort of hybrids. So, and I'll explain, I'll share with you my thoughts on why these are not the best job titles. Scrum Master / Agile Project Manager, Scrum Master / PMO, Team Lead, Team Manager, Delivery Lead. So first, not to be falsely dichotomous in this. It is not that I cannot see value in someone being a delivery manager or delivery lead under certain conditions. And when I say certain conditions, I mean certain organizational settings, structures. They may not be optimal, but for those specific organizational settings, the role of a delivery lead may be an appropriate role. Same goes for delivery manager. I'm going to walk out on a limb and say that under certain organizational conditions, certain org structures, being a part of a PMO structure or having a PMO in place is probably the only way to go, because if PMO has certain function under certain organizational conditions, under certain types of relationships, when we have certain types of contracts written and executed with external clients. So I'm not going to scold this in full and under all conditions, but we'll say, and the same thing goes for a project manager. Now, what I will say though is that it's not so much that those roles are still in existence under certain conditions; they may very well be needed. Is that when we mix? I guess it's a way to paraphrase. It's a figure of speech. When you mix oil and water, you don't end up with a mixture. You end up with an emulsion. You shake it up, it looks like a homogeneous mixture, but let it sit for a little bit and it separates. Water and oil will separate. So this is a way of saying, this is a figure of speech. It's a way of saying that we do not want to create conditions under which the same person creates for themselves an internal conflict of interest or internal friction. And this will effectively not only impact his or her own ability to perform the role, but also will lead to some degree of dysfunction and harm that they may cause to their surrounding people, to other team members, to other employees or coworkers. So I get this question quite often. Well, for this job, I'm being asked not only to perform the function of a Scrum Master, but also other things. And this is why when I apply for the job, I want to tweak my title, or at least I want to make it look like I'm suitable. Well, if a company does it, if an organization writes a spec like this, of course, that's something for them to learn. They're not servicing themselves well, and they're not servicing themselves in the long run, and they also might be attracting a bad talent. But if you absolutely need to explain why you could be a good candidate to do both, at least you may say, look, I can perform, and I would like to perform the function of a Scrum Master for this team or under these organizational conditions. However, I may have some other skills and some other experience. And as long as you don't put me in a position where there's a conflict of interest, I can perform it elsewhere. For example, if someone is invited to coach a team as a Scrum Master and support a team as a Scrum Master, let's say 15 to 20% of 15 to 20 man hours in a week. It's almost like part-time. And the other 20%, another 15 to 20 hours, the same person is being asked to work for the same company in a different capacity. That could be okay. This person may do some hands-on technical work. They may do some delivery leadership perhaps, or some management, but not in a way that would create a conflict of interest and a conflict during runtime for the same person at the same time at the same place. You may want to think of this as if someone has a day job as a bus driver, or as a carpenter, or as I do a lot of deal with a lot of things around the house. Like I can do plumbing during daytime, and at night I can maybe deliver groceries or deliver pizza, or you do canteen work 15-20% of your time, and the rest 70-80% of your time you're doing something else that is completely irrelevant and not in conflict. So this is just about titles themselves. If you think you have multiple skills and if you have multiple capabilities, try to at least be conscious of the fact that A, You do not want to put yourself in a position where you will be executing. So you will be put in harm's way essentially by fighting the tape, by fighting organizational antibodies that will make your life probably miserable, not so happy. You won't be so happy, and you will not be able to produce enough value on either side. However, if you're being put under conditions where you can separate, so to speak, like church from the state, and not create a conflict of interest for yourself, maybe that's okay. Now, the question of personal capacity, like, do I have enough time? Do I have enough bandwidth? That's a completely different question. If you're being invited to work for a company as a Scrum Master, and that's going to be a primary function, your primary role, full time, then you definitely want to make sure that your job rack, your title, are clean. So having a Scrum Master / project manager 40 hours a week for the same team in the same place for the same product, that's the conflict. Let's say if someone splits you 50-50% or 20-20 hours or 20-15 hours, that could be okay, perhaps. But now you have to understand, you have to decide for yourself whether or not you want to do it. Like maybe you do not want to do the more traditional legacy work because that's not the message you want to send. Now it's up to you. So this is more of a practical discussion, as you can see, right? I don't want to, so I see CS, I don't have a full name, is raising their hand. So if I take this question, I'm just going to be a one-off because I want to continue with the rest. And if this is urgent, I would assume so. I'm going to unmute you, and as an exception. Please go ahead and ask.
Hi, my name is Chetan, and I 100% believe what you said, Jane, about the Scrum Master and more than one job title for a Scrum Master. And you said like we should question the hiring manager, or we should question like what you're looking for this role and so on. But the unfortunate thing is like if you see the jobs on LinkedIn, or if you apply to the direct client website, nobody comes on the phone or not. And for one job requirement, there are more than 500 kind of particular this application. So people generally say like if you ask this question, they will deselect your even resume, and if you don't have those skill set, they won't even contact you back because there are other candidates which
I don't mean to interrupt, but I think I want to hear the question. So this is a statement, and I know there was a lot of fad and nonsense out there. So you just restated the obvious. What's the question?
my question is like, if you don't have the multiple skill set, you will lose on the role. People are saying like Scrum Master is evolving role nowadays. So so you don't need to only have coaching, facilitation skill as such,
Yeah.
but you should have a software engineering skill, business analysis skill, so and so skill as such. Then only you get a
Yeah.
job. So as a candidate, we don't have a choice. So either people fake the resume that have these skills, or they lose on the road. So is
So
there any solution for
yeah.
that?
So I won't be giving you any solution at the moment. I am trying to make you sure you at least, you sound like you would really need to understand this conceptually, how you're going to proceed with those expectations and requests. It's really up to you. Yes, there is a lot of dysfunction out there. So, and it's not so much what you know, it's how much you can present yourself. And as I think I mentioned this, it is not about not having additional skills. It is not about not being able to do another type of work. It is being smart, mature, and conscious about potentially getting yourself into a situation where you will have a conflict of interest. And sometimes when you explain this to a client or to an employer, why you think there could be some challenges, you will actually gain more credit for yourself. And they will say, okay, at least he knows what he's talking about. And yes, maybe we need to explain this better. Maybe in fact it wasn't stipulated well enough in the job rec, and they did not mean to put you in a position where you're going to have a conflict. But the way it looked like the way it looks on the rec, you will have a conflict. So it's not about not being able to do it. It's about separating those and not creating an explicit conflict of interest for yourself. Okay. Of course, this message goes not just for people that are looking, but also people that are writing this. So I just don't know who's on the call. Let me actually let's take a closer look at some of the responsibilities that may potentially also raise flags. So some of these are kind of speak for themselves and will probably give you a cringeworthy feeling, right? But some may not be as obvious. So managing Agile Scrum projects, just a very poor language. Scrum Masters do not manage projects. They do not manage teams. They coach, they enable, they facilitate, they teach. Assigning and removing team members to and from teams or a single team. This is certainly not a Scrum Master's function. As we probably know, we've heard this a lot, teams should be empowered to hire and, if needed, let go or make steps to have someone being removed if this person is an absolute non-fit. Now, the HR function, the actual mechanic of this, would be probably an HR function of some sort. But Scrum Masters are not hiring or firing people from teams. A Scrum Master is not someone who would define a product. If anything, if you wish to associate a Scrum Master, you want to associate this person with a process, with a process improvement, with coaching and mentoring team members and the product owner. Product definition does not sit with a Scrum Master. It's the function of end users and customers, depending whether it's an external or internal product. And of course, there's a lot of say that a product owner has also. So this isn't, without getting into details, generalizing. Product definition sits on the business side of the house. Product definition does not sit certainly not with a Scrum Master. Just leave it at that. Setting product and sprint priorities. This is certainly not a product owner, not a Scrum Master's function. At a high level, strategic product goals and long-term goals and high-level priorities. It's certainly a product owner in conjunction with users and senior executives if needed. Sprint goals, really, sprint to sprint. Again, the major driver would be a product owner. On a single team, it's more reasonable, by the way, than on multi-team product development like large-scale Scrum because of the large body of work for each sprint. Sometimes it becomes less critical to have a unified sprint goal for an entire less product group. But I would still recommend having some idea what a product owner wants to do in that sprint. Again, a product owner, not a Scrum Master. So it's not a function of a Scrum Master. Scheduling and running Scrum events. That's an interesting one because this is one of the biggest misunderstanding that exists out there. Now, teaching and coaching what is and what is not supposed to be happening at those events. Perhaps this is the role of a Scrum Master for starters, especially for a newly designed, newly structured team when the team just got formed and is going through norming. However, let's not think of this as the single throat to choke. That is a Scrum Master being the person who always clicks this button, magic button, let's start a meeting, let's finish the meeting. What if a Scrum Master is not available? Those Scrum and less events, large Scrum and large-scale Scrum events should be able to flow whether or not a Scrum Master is available. Creating and assigning tasks to developers. I think this speaks for itself. A Scrum Master is not someone who does it. They do not micromanage. They do not assign work, nor does the product owner. As a matter of fact, this is where team's self-management and autonomy really kicks in. Providing technical solutions to developers. Now, I think we initially said avoiding conflict of interest. What if a Scrum Master is really knowledgeable? What if he or she came from very intense technical background. Well, so this is a very good example where they need to split what they do and where they do it. On the team that a Scrum Master coaches, and I'm going to be using this word more frequently than any other word, or scrums, if you will, more of a jargon. A Scrum Master does not provide technical solutions and does not lead, especially forcefully lead, to implement one way or the other. If this person is very technical and knowledgeable, maybe they can do this type of work for another team, but not for the team where they are assigned to coach and to scrum the team. Now, asking a powerful question in an open-ended fashion, maybe. Hey, by the way, have you thought of doing a code refactoring here? Have you thought of rewriting this function in some other way, or did you consider maybe working with another team or team member to solve this problem, because he obviously raising this every daily scrum? That would be probably the extent, but you do not want to see a Scrum Master, especially if they come with some degree of seniority and personal, if their personal qualities are, if they're very forceful, you do not want them to come off and influence a team like this. Ordering technical work during the sprints kind of goes hand in hand with creating and signing technical tasks. Again, anything that's at this level, anything that has to do with work decomposition, work prioritization, work splitting work isn't really the Scrum Master thing. Managing, configuring, updating ticket tracking tools. Again, another another fantasy that a Scrum Master must be the master of tooling. He or she is the a Jira jockey or a Jira guru. That's really not what a Scrum Master is supposed to do. Now, having some knowledge, perhaps, but even if you are being asked or being expected to help along with initial configuration of some sort, hopefully you will always come from the standpoint of what it does for a team, and prior to that you would really need to spend time understanding what a team really needs. So it's really not a tool that defines how a team operates. It's the way that the team wants to operate and live every day, should translate into how the tool is configured. And by the way, it's probably done only once for the entire duration. It's a once in a lifetime event, and you don't have to come back to it. In other words, it should not turn, tool maintenance and tool support should not turn into a thing. All right, it's not a thing. Managing, configuring, updating ticket tracking tools, again, goes hand to hand with this. Do not consider Scrum Master as an administrative assistant, as a secretary, as a ticket pusher, someone who is responsible for pushing tickets from left to right on your Scrum or your Kanban board. It's not. It's every developer should be really taking care of those tickets or those sticky notes. Maybe asking a question here and there, that's okay, but do not turn this into an administrative function. Estimation, at best and at most, I would expect a Scrum Master to educate a team on how it's done, but not proactively participate and especially at the point when everyone is comfortable with the approach, challenging and questioning the why someone did something one way or the other. Now, unless there is a misunderstanding involved. So once the team is past the point of misunderstanding how to do it and why they do it, a Scrum Master should be really hands-off. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a moment of education. It's an opportunity to educate. Collecting metrics, generating agile reports. Again, this is a mechanical, rudimentary task. If any reports are needed, especially in today's day and age with tooling, they're all free. With a click of a button, they're there. Those light graphics metrics are available, we do not need to spend time on generating them manually. And again, we need to downplay them as much as we can, because it's really not a metric or a status report that adds value to a client or customer or user. It's the actual deliverable. So let's make sure we don't confuse what actually produces value to a paying customer, A, and B. Even if you need some sort of light visualization of how this is all manifest itself. Maybe you need like a velocity trend chart or a burn up chart. Again, not for reporting upstairs and up the chain of events, up the chain of command, for your own use, for your own internal analysis. Again, it should not be the thing. It should not be a separate job, or it should not be a function. Same thing, it goes along with the reporting to management team's progress. If anything, if there is any need to manage expectations of executive management, it really should be coming from the product owner. He or she would be responsible for product success, delivery. So product owner is the best person to cater this information up the chain of command and laterally also to users and customers. Taking responsibility for delivering on team's commitments. Again, it's not a Scrum Master who is responsible for delivery, it's the team. One interesting observation, and I've seen this way too often, because of the inappropriate, incorrect definition of the role, a Scrum Master ends up in a position when the A are, quote unquote, expected to do what a Scrum Master does, although it's sometimes half-baked. But also they're also expected to deliver. So they play the traditional function of a delivery manager. And this almost immediately obliviates their entire function as a Scrum Master and makes them completely neutered, completely incapable of teaching and coaching and enabling the team, because the team no longer perceives this person as a Scrum Master being a coaching function. Now they see this person as a delivery manager, as the owner of deliverables, and it's just a manager function. Whatever he or she says goes. So we should expect much less autonomy, sovereignty, and purpose, develop within a team. Dependency coordination, whether it's inside within the team or across the team. Developers really need to talk to developers. Developers really need to be in immediate proximity with each other, with one another, within the same team and across multiple teams. We do not want to turn a Scrum Master into a bottleneck, into a translator, into a go teller, into a conduit. By the way, one of the biggest misunderstanding about Scrum of Scrums that I've seen, not recently, in general, is Scrum Masters talk to other Scrum Masters to coordinate dependencies between teams. This is precisely how it's not supposed to be done. It's developers talking to developers from different teams, coordinating potential dependencies, or as we sometimes refer to them as opportunities to work together. If Scrum Masters from different teams huddle and come together, it's probably to discuss internally as a community potential process improvements that would impact multiple teams, presumably teams that work on the same product, like in large-scale Scrum. If Scrum Masters come together and huddle and work together, it's not to coordinate work of teams. It's to do some other things. Coordinated between a product owner and team members, of course. By the same token, do not think of a Scrum Master as a conduit or a translation, a layer that sits between a product owner and teams. Developers need to be talking directly to users and customers, depending on what kind of product development we have, internal or external. And of course, they need to have a short leg. They should be on a short leg, very short catwalk directly to the product owner. So that's that. Managing communication between teams and developers. Again, so all of this is about communication and not becoming a conduit or a bottleneck or a single source of truth or a single throat to choke. Presenting team accomplishments at a sprint review? Absolutely not. In fact, whoever does the job should be presenting the job. So I have Scrum Masters, and I'll actually tell you, you may ask, well, so what the heck is Scrum Master doing? So teams, whoever produces work should take full credit for presenting this work. Is it not fair? I think it's very fair, whether it's a single team or multiple teams. In fact, any feedback solicitation from users and or customers and stakeholders at a sprint review should be going directly to the teams, the developers. This is a huge killer. This is a huge no. Well, in fact, the last two, I'm gonna mention them together. A Scrum Master cannot and should not, must not be in a position when he or she is perceived as someone who has influence or has bearing on another person's compensation, promotion, or any other perks or benefits or bonuses. The minute we couple this, we turn a Scrum Master into almost like a punishment stick. And let alone, this is the problem for any organization to have. I mean, we really should be looking for ways to get rid of individual performance appraisals, and especially when they're tied to bonuses, because they are very, very harmful. But that's beyond the Scrum discussion. That's beyond a Scrum Master role discussion. But when you actually see a Scrum Master being tasked with this, this is a huge flag. This is a huge red flag. In the coaching capacity that a Scrum Master is, teaching coaching capacity, this would ruin a relationship and will really not create a good atmosphere for learning, and will not produce safety. Will create a lot of unsafety, unrest. Okay, speaking of what I have, that's all I have, other than just a few funny graphics. I'm going to open up for comments and questions. I reserved this graphic to discuss the journey of a journey for personal development of a coach. So I'll give it 20 seconds to pay attention to this. What's in blue on the left-hand side would be gradual development of a professional coach. So why am I showing this to you? Because essentially I would like you to think of a Scrum Master as this kind of person, not the person on the right-hand side in red. Here, left and right, blue and red, has nothing to do with politics. Just a coincidence. Okay. Another one would be this. Actually, I would like to show them side to side. This is the unfortunate lifetime of a poorly defined Scrum Master / you name it. Eventually, it comes to a stall. I actually have a few real examples to give. I'm not going to be dropping names of companies, although some of this is public information. This is the lifetime and the lifespan of a poorly defined role. And there was some hard evidence in the industry right now, especially in banking, in fintech, in banking. Just one bang goes, another bang goes, and the third bang, and the fourth, and on and on. It's like a domino effect. A much better way to think of a Scrum Master is this. And this slide is borrowed from Large Scale Scrum website. The function does not die. The role does not go away, especially in large scale organizational settings. The focus may change, yes, but certainly not, a great Scrum Master with great acumen and capabilities in large scale organizational settings will and should always have things to do. Okay. In terms of coaching and mentoring and teaching. And so that's just to show you the difference between the two. And I think that's probably it. I mean, I just last one. I don't want you to think of a Scrum Master as someone who just gets relabeled from, like, this is a SQL update statement, right? You do not want to see HR just taking your existing roles and just mapping them to new roles based on someone's pay grade. And that's what we see a lot. Scrum Masters are ex-junior managers, BAs, and senior agile coaches miraculously without any track record whatsoever are ex-senior project or program or portfolio managers now wanting to jump on a bandwagon of, agile fever. Okay. So let's have a chat if you want. I know Chetan, you shared your concerns. Does anyone else want to speak up?
Okay. Well, it's funny. I was kind of smirking and laughing. You touched on so many points that so many things I have navigated, experienced, and seen as recent as now. And it's a reality, to your point, that you have to make a decision when you take a position if you
Yeah.
are going to accept that. My corporation went through a transformation where a lot of jobs just got retitled. And the most interesting part of it is the Scrum Masters report to the product owners. And the product owners were previous managers. And the training they had was in-house coaches that said, "Hey, you are now a product owner." So it's very hard to discuss with them that the problems they're asking the Scrum Master to solve are HR problems that they need to take hold of it and solve. So we are tasked to not evaluation, but resolve people problems through a Scrum process, which is not what it's meant to do. Um, and you have to decide, do you want to do that, or you want to navigate, or do you have enough skills to navigate it? It's hard because there's a lot of politics involved.
Yeah.
It's a lot. The job changed a lot. I don't know that there are many positions for traditional Scrum Masters anymore.
Well, so Marcus, thank you for bringing this up. Two things. Sometimes we shouldn't be fighting the battle because there's no way to win the battle, but let's see if we can win the war, right? Maybe not even that. So those roles that are poorly defined, and we all know they're poorly defined. It's almost like it's a vicious cycle. Bad creates bad. So imagine people that do not understand this somehow get into the company and they create jobs. So imagine someone at HR or someone who is tasked to write a job rec, and they do a very poor job creating a rec that reflects their own poor understanding of the role. So they may end up inviting the same kind of people into the system. And it's just a vicious cycle and a vicious cycle, and bad creates bad, and it's a spiral. And because of the inherited systemic dysfunction that has been produced, eventually it will come to a stall. And then, so of course, we have lost a lot of credibility already. This market has shot itself in the foot so badly, and we're losing it by day. So what may end up happening is this. So this is in fact the root cause. I'm sorry, this is not a root cause. This is the outcome of what we just talked about. They have created this problem, and this essentially is not going to be a successful end. So, and someone pays for this. So I would not be surprised, and I'm not surprised when companies look at the ROI and they see that after 3, 4, 5 years of doing this, let's call this what it is, right? Agile circus. They haven't really systemically improved anything. I mean, their products are not more successful. Their client base is not bigger. They're not making more money. They're not being more recognized in the industry. They haven't gained an inch. And they will ask a question, a reasonable, so what the heck are we paying for? So, and this is why we have this some companies just, have a massive exodus of people with initially poorly defined roles. some of those people very much define their own roles. So they shot themselves in the foot, and now they are struggling. They're looking for ways to get re-employed, to re-engaged. So this is a systemic problem we have created. So it's almost like this. There will be a point in time. It's coming to it, right? When the market will be so saturated, so overflooded with incorrectly defined roles, with poorly defined roles, with people that do not possess the necessary skills, that it will be very difficult for companies to look for good people amongst the whole myriad of people that are not so good. But it will be also very difficult for people to stand out. In order to succeed in this market, you would almost need to present yourself in such a unique way that makes you stand out. Otherwise, you're just like one of many, many, many. So, and again, I don't want to be falsely dichotomous to say, if you're a Scrum Master, you should not possess any historical, traditional, like legacy skills. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you have to be conscious and mature enough to, and when I say mature, professionally mature, to even to state this to your potential employer. What kind of limit say this? Look, I can, I can chew gum and walk at the same time, but I'd rather not do it, and here's why. Or someone says, someone may ask you, can you multitask, and they give you two completely, conflicting tasks? Probably the answer should be yes, I can do A and I can do B, but I cannot do A and B at the same time. And I do not recommend you to do it. I do not recommend you to expect this to be done. I want to take from Joe. Joe.
Thank you. So kind of related to some of the earlier comments about when you're a job candidate and you're trying to get a job and you're looking at all the different possibilities that are out there, you see these, dirty job roles that, in this discussion that we're having, we would say that we wouldn't recommend, or I guess, to be aware that those non-clean job descriptions that put too many responsibilities together into one, it's a setup to fail. And they're saying, this is what we're looking for, is one of these failures. I think it'd be interesting to do a causal loop diagram of what would it take to increase the number of clean Scrum Master roles in the world that people could apply for. It seems,
yeah.
It seems like we educate ourselves about how this stuff is supposed to work, and then we try to go out into the world and apply what we've learned, but the world hasn't necessarily learned what we've learned, and they aren't ready to invite us. There's got to be a way to increase the total number of jobs that are actually doing this role properly.
So Joe, thank you for actually raising this. It's not a planted question. We both know it. It's natural. System modeling is a very powerful way to unpack what's unknown yet or unclear. I'm happy to, in fact, two things. I'm happy to have this conversation at some point, and maybe we should have this as a crowdsourcing event. But also I need to disclose something else. I am about to poll the entire community for potential new and future topics, and I think this should be one of them. I'm biased. I have a cognitive bias that this way to understand the system around roles and responsibilities is very, very important, because everyone understands this, everyone sees this, but very few people actually speak about this. Like who has the guts to say the emperor has no clothes on? Very few, right? And I understand at the same time people need to get paid. People want to get hard. It's almost like two things are struggling. On the one hand, there's a little angel says don't do it, and the other shoulder, on the other shoulder, there's a little devil that says, no, you got to get paid. You want to say yes to this job. Yeah, you can probably say yes to this job, but what if this job is going to put you in the safety zone, or just give you a false sense of safety very temporarily, and that will just create a lot of a lot of aggravation, a lot of great feelings for you. So yeah, I'm all for it. We just need to find the time for it. Folks, anyone else? Anyone else wants to either share their thoughts or ask a question or just reflect on this? You know, I put it in red intentionally because I'm afraid some people will not read the top about the anecdote and say, "Oh, that's a good job, Rick. Let me copy paste it in my resume." Just do that. We don't have a very hard agenda beyond what we have discussed already. We'll only share with you something else. And by the way, I can share this page with everyone. And also would like to include this one. I had it handy, but I didn't plan on the reviews. This is sort of an oldish file. Long time ago, I called it, actually, it wasn't just my work alone. I worked with someone else, was pretty knowledgeable, actually. They were my mentor in a way. We'll call them Scrum Master stories. Of course, you know, we don't want to play in a sandbox of user stories. Say, oh, Scrum Master has its own story. No, it's just a figure of speech. It was done for training purpose, but you can read. It's actually a pretty longish file that talks about what you want to do or what you do not want to do. Just it's a form of a user story, but it's really not a user story per se. As a Scrum Master, I want to make sure that I clearly understand the role of a Scrum Master, ask for the Scrum Guide, blah, blah. You get the gist of it, right? Or something as a Scrum Master, I want to make sure that the importance of every Scrum role is being recognized by my team so that there is no overloading, hijacking of terminology that will lead to many other problems. So this could be also a good reference for you, like a learning moment, or if you want to somehow work this into your resume, also you're welcome to do so. Joe, you have another one, yeah?
Hand up again.
No, yeah.
I just wanted to put a plug in for a resource that I think really helped me a lot, because I think I really was trying to fit into the world of multi-skilled Scrum Master role. And when I encountered Michael James and took Scrum Master certification from him,
MJ is a great guy.
I took a class from Michael James after taking one from Jeff Sutherland quite a while back.
Yeah.
And I really feel like his approach as a trainer cleaned up my understanding of the role. And this resource that I dropped in there called the Scrum Master Checklist. It really talks a lot about what your list there says, Gene, about what is your real role, and are you doing it? And I really think it's thought-provoking to go through and be honest about how you and your team are working.
Yeah, thank you for sharing the show. So MJ's actually, well, this is from MJ personally. We had this recording not too long ago. MJ is a great source. He's actually I think he's the first, maybe second certified Scrum trainer back in the days, deputized by Ken Schwaber himself. So, but he was there, and so anything that comes from MJ, I would consider as highly credible. Okay, and I will ping this link as well as this is the link this is the page we came from. So I'm going to also ping it in the chat, but I will send this later to the entire group. So, any other questions or comments? And I do appreciate you guys, quite a few cameras on today. So give me like watching Aaron, Marcos, Vane. Thank you for that. Anything else from anyone?
Why do you want to see my face?
What?
Why would you like to see my face?
I would like to see everyone's face. You have to understand, someone who actually speaks on the other side of the camera, it gives a lot of energy, like it energizes you, because when you have 30, little windows, 5 by, 4 by 2 inch with names, it just, man, you can get dizzy.
It's funny. My team is all in overseas, and for them to use cameras, sometimes it disconnects them because of bandwidth and a lot of problems. And we don't even ask for cameras anymore. And I guess you develop another sense when you can. You basically consider yourself you are sightless, and then you have your hearing and everything
Yeah.
else, and you learn how to hear in their voices the emotions and everything else. And it's really it's a different. I don't know how to explain the experience, but we are very close, and we never see each other. We only see the little icons of pictures. And but it's just became irrelevant. I just hear their voices, and it's strange. But anyway, it's just a little thing.
Yeah, look, if you are completely not ready for camera, I get it. In fact, I remember a few years ago we had a very funny case. I had to delete, a few minutes from my video. Someone was, very early in the morning. Let's just leave it at that. On west side, on west coast of the United States. I think we ran it at like my event was like at 10 o'clock. So the person was like, -3, right? So you can imagine. So I was like, man, they got it. And I didn't mute it, and I didn't. So I had to cut that video out. We caught him in, in privacy. So anyway, I want to thank you all for joining and sticking out, and also for the questions and the comments. And I'm gonna have this recording as well. So if you want to actually syndicate it across your network and maybe send it to your employers, because what we want to do really, and just my last punchline, we wouldn't be creating this, we wouldn't be really following this nonsense. We would not be writing these resumes if there were no recs that were written so badly. So maybe somehow we can, if we can convey to those that create those recs that, hey, you got to be smart about how you write this up, because if you invite nonsense, you will get nonsense. If you invite low quality, if you create confusion, then you will have confusion. So we need to go, like, back to Joel's point, we need to go to systemic root cause of this, maybe fix it up there, right? Because there is a demand that will be, if there was demand for poor quality and garbage, let's just say, let's call it what it is, then you're going to get garbage. So we'll maybe need to go after and kill what's, as we call it, kill a supply chain, cut the supply. Yeah.
You have a very good point on the systemic part, and I observed that it starts with them hiring people for the wrong jobs. Then
Yeah.
these people get promoted to positions where they hire others, and guess what happens?
Yeah.
It just propagates that bad quality over and over and over.
I'm thinking of a way to maybe do something like this again, but zoom in on HR and hiring staff that actually are in charge of creating these recs and asking for roles. We'll think about it. Okay, well, thank you very much, folks. We're at the hour, so I want to wish you all a good, happy Friday and a good weekend. The rest of the week.
A great weekend, everyone.
Good weekend.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Thanks, Gene.
Thanks, Gene.
Cheers.
Thank you.